Hey guys, welcome. Today we're talking about some observations or takeaways that I've had from project panning, some tips maybe even if you want to call it that. I'm not a hardcore veteran of panning, but I definitely feel like a year is a significant amount of time to get some data to share with you all. Why should anybody project pan? Some people just really want to get their money's worth out of their products. Maybe people want to focus more on their collection as opposed to just buying more makeup. Maybe just want to experiment and see how long it takes to use certain things. There's so many different reasons. I actually didn't think I wanted to do a project pan for a really long time because I was nervous about putting too much pressure on myself with it, and I really just wanted to enjoy my collection like naturally, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want it to feel like too forced, I guess. Would I get bored of using the same product over and over again? I didn't want to like hate it, but I found the opposite to be true. Like I actually found that doing Project Pan has actually made me more inspired and more creative. If you're kind of worried about that, I suggest you just give it a shot and see how it goes. You might be kind of surprised at what you find out about yourself. And why I decided to take the plunge, I wasn't seeing as much usage in the makeup that I had for having had certain products for as long as I did. They should look more used than they were. And I kind of like to get the most out of my products as I can, especially if I still like them on some level. I don't want to just get rid of stuff to get rid of stuff. Let's just get into the video and let me share with you the stuff that I have learned through my experience. If you're just kind of starting with it, maybe lower your expectations a little bit. It was way more manageable to start with less and then maybe build in more products as I felt more confident with it, or if I felt like it was something I could actually do. Start with fewer products per category maybe. Maybe don't have like 5 lipsticks that you're trying to pan at the same time, and start with stuff that already has good progress in it. And I don't think that's cheating. I don't. I think it's just more encouraging. And it's also nicer not to have a lot of products sitting around with like that much left in it too. You know what I mean? So it's good to mix in some challenging products, but I do find that stuff that is already used up decently well, you tend to see more progress a little bit quicker, and sometimes that is just the boost that you need to kind of keep going with the project. Second would be find the way that you want to track your progress. So for me, I do like taking pictures, and I know that for me, I fall off the wagon with that sometimes. I also like to make markings on containers. You could maybe invest in a weight scale. I just like to tally things if there are products like that I can't see. So even if you don't hit your goal, at least you can see that you are making progress somehow. The third thing I want to say was that certain products will pan faster than others. Along that same line, certain formulas pan faster than others. Now, I know this all depends on whether you're heavy-handed or not, how you wear your makeup, the method by which you apply. Like some people like to apply their eyeshadows with their fingers instead of their brushes, etc. But generally speaking, anything that's liquid, cream, or softer in nature tends to pan a lot faster than things that are more dense, things that are matte, formula, powder. I found that to be true in my case, but everybody's different, of course. Certain formulas of eyeshadow are definitely easier to pan than others. I found that things that were more glittery, had a little bit more texture to it, tends to pan faster than, say, a matte eyeshadow. The chocolate bar palette, for the amount that I have used it, it's really hard to see much progress in here just because of the formula. The mattes here are really, really dense, so you're just not going to see as much. So it's not always you. Sometimes it's the product. And also, blushes take forever for me. Highlighters take forever. Like highlighters by nature, you don't use as much of a highlighter, at least I don't, compared to maybe, say, a bronzer, which I kind of put on more parts of my face. So I'm not shocked that I've never hit pan on a highlighter. I may never hit pan on a highlighter, but crazier things have happened. I also noticed with Project Pan that feelings towards products that I've had changed throughout the project. So I have a Revlon lipstick that I've had in the project since last year, and my feelings on that lipstick change all the time. Sometimes I'm really tired of it, I'm really sick of it, I need to put it down and give it a rest. And then I come back to it and then I really like it again. Or maybe it depends on the makeup that I'm wearing with that particular item. That's what I found. So if you're really not feeling a product that's in your project pan, it could be a matter of just needing to give it a rest, letting it go for a little bit, and then coming back to it when you feel like you're ready to do that again. Because sometimes it's just about taking a break and just kind of experimenting with it a little bit. And honestly, if you really dislike using something, you know when you really hate a product or don't like it, then I would say just scrap it altogether. I don't believe in hate panning, meaning like using a product up that you really don't like just because it's in a project and you just want to get use out of it and finish it up. To me, that doesn't really make any sense. I mean, I don't like wasting makeup, but to me it's a waste of time, which is just as bad to me. Like, to use something that I don't like, you know what I mean? So I would just learn my lesson and get rid of it. But other than that, like totally see if it's a matter of just fatigue with products. It does happen. So if you need to give things a break, give it a break, use something different for a while, and then just come back to it. That'll be more motivating than trying to beat a dead horse, you know what I mean? Okay. Another thing I like to do is to get creative with my products. If you are getting tired of using a certain blush, for example, I like to mix blushes together with other blushes and come up with like a newer color or a different way to wear it. Or you can use products other than how they are intended or labeled. So for example, I use eyeshadows as eyeliners a lot, eyeshadow as a bronzer if it's like that kind of a shade. So there's lots of different ways to get more use out of those project items than just how they're labeled. You'll get more usage out of the product and kind of surprise yourself. It'd be another fun dimension to using your products. Makeup is very versatile. I just found that using them in different ways really helps me expand my horizons with my collection. Like it does make you creative and resourceful. Eyeshadows work really, really well as highlighters and, you know, vice versa. So there's just endless possibilities, and it's really, really fun to explore and play around with those. So that's another way to get usage and fun out of your products. All right. Another thing is there are just so many different ways to make Project Pan fun. So there's going to be times when you're just gonna get bored with some products or get really antsy with them, and you know what, that's normal. And you know, as long as you're not like completely hating the product, there are ways to make it more fun. There are so many different like themed project pans. The Partners in Cream that's going on. You know, there's different holiday themes like 12 Pans of Christmas, and then there's like the Graveyard project pan. I have different ways to like play around with my project pan. Like I can use a Google number generator or like a randomizer app to help me pick out which shadows I want to wear that day, and or different products to wear with what. There's different ways to mix it up, and it's a lot of fun to kind of participate in those things. Yeah, it does make it a lot more fun, and it's also nice to have a community behind you, like cheering you on to use your products. I know that sounds really corny, but it's true. Like it's just fun to kind of get together with other people that are doing the same thing, and you know, check out what they're doing and get tips from other people. It's just like a really great way to kind of get motivated with it and just like bond with other people, as corny as that sounds, but it's true. Like, you know, if YouTube isn't your thing, Instagram, there's like ways to do it there. There's Reddit groups, Facebook groups, like so many different ways. Maybe you can do it with your friends in like real life, I guess, if they're into makeup as well. Just so many different ways. So that's just another thing to note, that there's like, you know, you don't have to be alone in this whole thing. Like there's definitely tons of people and a community behind it. So take advantage of it. Make it fun if you can. This kind of goes back to number one about keeping it realistic. Now, if you don't have a point of reference and have never done Project Pan before, you might not know what is too much and what isn't. So again, this does take some experimentation, but I found that I would love to participate in lots of Project Pans, but I think sometimes that can be overwhelming. I mean, yeah, you can participate in as many as you want to and whatever you're comfortable with, but I found for me personally that too many projects, I'm probably not going to get as much progress out of my products as I would like to. But I get it. I get wanting to participate in a lot of them, but again, that goes back to my point of trying to keep things realistic if you can. And again, that might take some time to figure out what's realistic for you. You might not have a problem doing like 5 different project pans at once. I personally would get overwhelmed with that. I think 1 or 2 is just enough for me. 1 big one and maybe 1 teeny tiny one, because again, I also want to use products in my collection. So that's just another added thing I wanted to put in there. Like, find out all the different ones you want to do and maybe pick 1 out of those or 2 and see where you can go from there. And maybe if you feel comfortable doing that, maybe tack on another one. So just wanted to throw that in there. Definitely tailor the projects to fit your lifestyle and what makes sense for you to do. I think a lot of Project Pan guidelines are just that. They're just guidelines. Like, I know that like some groups have specific rules and whatever, and that's totally fine. And if you feel comfortable following those rules, you do you. Like, obviously, if I'm joining Partners in Cream, I'm not gonna put in like a powder eyeshadow. Like, that wouldn't make any sense because that's not the point of the project. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, you kind of have to figure out what projects suit your needs the best. So for example, Pan That Palette challenge, actually trying to finish a palette, even hit pan in a palette like this probably wouldn't be something for me, because knowing what I know from my last Project Pan, it took me months to finish, or sorry, to hit pan on just 1 eyeshadow. So something like that wouldn't wouldn't make sense for me. I mean, mind you, there's also smaller palettes and stuff like that, but you know what I mean. Like a project like that wouldn't appeal to me as much unless maybe it was like a usage type of project where maybe you are counting how many times you use a shadow or something and then kind of exit out that way. That might be something that's more my style. But yeah, that's again something that you kind of figure out over time and like your preferences and stuff like that. So don't feel bad about bailing on a project if you're deciding it's not for you, because you know, again, at the end of the day, like this is supposed to be something that you for the most part enjoy. For example, even project 10 uses, which I recently started and then stopped. I scrapped that project because I don't necessarily want to use certain things 10 times, even though 10 doesn't seem like a long time. Feel free to modify projects as you're doing them to make it fit your needs. I think that's just all part of the process. So do what you got to do to make it work. Sometimes it's not even about finishing a product, it's just getting more use out of a product, and that's where these usage projects are really, really nice, where you can again pick that number and kind of use it that many times and then boot it out. So maybe when you're not necessarily trying to hit pan or finish something, some products just need to be used, period, and or used more. This lipstick that I'm wearing right now, I barely use most of the year. Pulling it into even just a Shop My Stash to use it twice or 3 times is way more than what I was doing before. So I consider that another successful way to use your products. It doesn't necessarily have to be finishing things or hitting pan, just getting more use out of something in general. So definitely take that into consideration if maybe Project Pan seems like a little too intense or a little too much. So there's definitely ways around just using makeup up all the way. I wouldn't be discouraged about not hitting goals. It's just all data. And maybe you pick products out that don't work for that season in your life, or don't work for that particular time of year maybe, or you just don't want to wear makeup sometimes. All of that is data and feedback, and you know, helps you learn more about makeup in your collection and maybe what you want to stay away from buying in the future or buying as much of. So to me, that's also a win. So again, it's not always about what you use up or finish. It's information about how you like to use your stuff. But that's kind of where I'm at. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Please comment down below. What are your biggest takeaways from any project pans you've ever done? Did any of these resonate with you? As usual, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you along. Bye.